Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining us today. I'm Celia. I'm working as a trainee in the EFSA, in the HUCAP unit, the Human Capital Unit, and together with my colleague Panos and Victoria, we will present and coordinate this event. We are extremely happy of being here today. Thanks a lot for joining us. We really hope that after this session, you will be able to understand how it's working in EFSA, and also you will be aware of the career opportunities in EFSA. I think some of you have been already talking with us in the career booth, but in case you haven't been yet, we really invite you to go and talk with us, and we will be very happy of answer any question you may have. So the presentation will be divided in two parts. In the first one, we will talk about the scientific panels, the scientific committee, and the working groups. In the second part, we will have a discussion with our colleagues, Marco, Vasileis, and Liv, and then at the end, we will have time for questions. So, Panos.
Yeah. Thank you, Celia. So yes, in the first part, we'll give you more information about the scientific committee and the scientific panels and the working groups before going to the discussion with colleagues from the experts and the colleague from EFSA. So here, as you may know, EFSA received the request from the European Commission and the member states about food safety-related issues. And in EFSA, we prepare our opinions, so the scientific opinions, which then are used as a base for the legislation at the EU level. The whole process with the scientific panels is based on our foundation regulation, 178 of 2002. So at EFSA, we do what we call the risk assessment, and the risk management is done by the Commission. And our scientific opinions are then published in EFSA's journal, which is also available on our website. So now talking about the experts, the members of the scientific committee and the scientific panels are independent scientific experts. And they carry out their scientific assessments, and they also develop the relevant assessment methodologies. External experts also populate our working groups, and working groups are established by EFSA when it is necessary in order to fulfill our mandate and to enhance our multidisciplinary expertise. So talking about expertise, the scientific panels, they cover all the areas that you can see now on the screen. So it's what we call from farm to fork. So for example, the GMO, genetically modified organisms, biological hazards, food additives, plant, animal health and science. And just to give you a better understanding of all these areas, we have created a slide with the organizational chart of EFSA. For most, or maybe for all of the units in the risk assessment production department, there is a relevant panel, scientific panel. So at EFSA we have 4 departments. 2 of them, let's say, are more scientific, the risk assessment production and the risk assessment services. And then we have another department for the management services, HR, legal, and another one for communication and partnership. And there we have colleagues working on engagement and stakeholders. And in the first department, the risk assessment production, you can see that we have several units like biological hazard and animal health and welfare, feed and contaminants, nutrition, plant health, pesticide peer review, food ingredients and packaging. And the other department, risk assessment services, we have units who, let's say, support the scientific work of EFSA in data, methodology and scientific support, risk assessment logistics, and the front desk and workforce planning unit. About the composition of the scientific unit, the scientific committee and the scientific panels, the scientific committee is composed of the chairs of each scientific panel and 6 other scientific experts. Whereas for the scientific panels, we have around maximum 21 experts. The members of the scientific panels and of the scientific committee, they have a term of 5 years, and their term can be renewed. The next slide shows the selection process. So again, in order to apply to all our career opportunities, and again for the expert call, you need to go to our career page and then you need to apply to an open call. The next slide, you will see the timeline for the next call. Here we describe roughly the process. So EFSA publishes the call for the expression of interest on our career site. Then we receive applications, so there is an open window for the candidates to apply. Then the executive director establishes a short list of the candidates, and then we ask from the pre-selected candidates to submit a declaration of interest, which is for us is very important because we are we need to assess their CVs and also if there is a conflict of interest, so they cannot work, for example, in specific areas that maybe they have done in the private sector, and to prepare scientific opinions for these issues. The selection of the experts is based on their preference, but also we take into account other details like nationality balance, gender balance. Then all these lists with the shortlist candidates is sent from the executive director to the management board. And this finally the management board, which is at the top in our hierarchy, which approves the selection of the scientific panel and the scientific committee. Here is a timeline for the next call. So we plan to publish the call in February-March 2022, and the selected candidates will be appointed in March 2024. It's a long process, and the new members will start their mandate in July 2024. Here we have a slide with some information, so you can always go to our site, efsa.europa.eu, and there you can find also the recent publications from the scientific panels, but also you can explore more the topics on which we are working. For us, it's also very useful to say that we need scientists in several areas, and sometimes it's a bit strange that scientists that don't know that their expertise is relevant for our tasks. So yesterday we have a colleague who is a biotechnologist, and then in our booth there were coming some candidates saying that we didn't know that you need this expertise. So apart from the food technologies or candidates with experience in veterinary or chemistry, molecular biology, we really need a big variety of expertise. So here you have a video which is 3 minutes, and it summarizes the whole process. It's a video which is available on YouTube. Thank you.
Developing and adopting a scientific opinion. EFSA receives requests for scientific advice from risk managers and other national food safety bodies. EFSA may also undertake work on its own initiative, known as self-tasking. Once accepted by EFSA, requests become mandates. They are assigned to panels of scientific experts or the scientific committee. When necessary, EFSA sets up a working group of relevant experts to do the detailed scientific work for the risk assessment. The working group reviews all relevant available information from scientific literature, as well as information provided by member states, industry, and other stakeholders. EFSA often launches calls for data or requests additional data to help inform its risk assessment. Depending on the mandate, EFSA may carry out its work in cooperation with national food safety authorities in member states, as well as other EU or international bodies and scientific organisations. The panel carries out its work in relation to the mandate, evaluating the risks associated with the food, feed, or process involved. The working group develops a draft opinion and submits it to the panel for discussion and possible adoption. EFSA often holds public consultations on its draft opinions, in particular when developing new guidance for risk assessment, as well as for issues of high public interest. Following public consultation, the scientific committee or panel reviews the feedback received and, where relevant, takes it into account in its final opinion. The scientific committee or panel adopts the opinion by consensus. Possible minority opinions are recorded. EFSA sends the opinion to whoever made the original request, risk managers, other national food safety bodies. EFSA's opinion is used by risk managers to support their policy making and legislative decisions on food or feed safety. The opinion is published in the EFSA Journal, EFSA's open access online scientific journal. This is how EFSA helps protect consumers from food-related risks.
Yeah, I think that the video summarized what we said before, and you can always find this video on our YouTube channel. And so we go back to... Perfect. Okay. Perfect. So now let's go to the panel discussion. So now we have the chance to listen to 3 colleagues, 2 experts and 1 colleague working for EFSA. So let's start the discussion and first give you the opportunity to introduce yourselves.
Okay, thank you, Panos. I'm Vasilis Bambidis, originating from Greece, and I am the chair of the feed-up panel. Is the panel that assesses the feed additives in animal nutrition.
I am Lieve Herman. I'm from Belgium, and I work at the Flemish Institute, a research institute. I'm their head of the technology and food unit. And for EFSA, I am a member of the biohazard panel, and I'm also a member of different working groups, all dealing with microbiological risk assessment of products, also regulated products which come on the market in Europe.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Marco Vinaya. I am EFSA staff. I've been in EFSA since 2010. I recently joined the unit on pesticide peer review, but I have a long experience for many years in the unit on contaminants, coordinating also the panel on contaminants in the food chain.
Also, just to add that also Vasilis and Lieve, they have been working for several years for EFSA and the working groups and the scientific panels. So this is why we call them today here to share also their experience. And we'll start with the first question for Vasilis. How your current role as a chair in the scientific panel complements with your position at the university?
Yes, indeed. First of all, perhaps previously I should mention that I'm professor of animal and nutritional science at the University of the International Hellenic University. And indeed, my whole life I have been dealing with feed additives in animal nutrition. Even my PhD thesis was relevant to feed additives. Therefore, I have been watching the progress of EFSA, but also before EFSA, before 2003, previous committees and organizations that were dealing with the feed additives. The previous committee was the Scientific Committee on Animal Nutrition, and it was based right here in Brussels under directly the European Union, and at that time there was no EFSA. And in fact, one of the decisions of that Scientific Committee on Animal Nutrition was the ban of antibiotics in feeds as growth promoters. Therefore, that had a great impact on animal production throughout Europe, but also outside of Europe. And all the relevant papers we had published during those times was highly relevant with these topics. Therefore, that was a major issue for me. And when I had the opportunity back in 2011-12, I applied for a panel member in EFSA, and I succeeded. And since then, I'm a panel member from 2012 in the Feed Up panel. All the opinions that EFSA panel issues, all this adopts and issues all this time is highly relevant with my work as a professor in the university. And the first thing after an opinion is adopted and published also in the EFSA journal, the first thing we gladly do is to communicate this information to the students. Therefore, the work we do here in EFSA is highly relevant with our work in the university or in the research institute for some other colleagues. And this work is, first of all, scientific work, okay? And this scientific work represents all of us as scientists. Thank you, Panos.
Perfect, thank you. So, Live, could you give us more information about how the panel works and how often do you meet, and some information about the internal, let's say, procedures of the panel?
Yes, it's quite a commitment when you become a panel member. You are important to be there, and we have in the Biohaz about 8 plenary meetings where we adopt and discuss the opinions. So it's 8 times 2 days, 2 full days. Some of them can be physically. Of course, the last 2 years they were all online, but some are in Parma. But next to that, and that's a bit your own choice, you can also be active in working groups. So if you get active also in working groups, this can increase your activity with another, like I would say, 2-4 days a month where you can be active in EFSA. So that depends a bit on your personal engagement and how far you have time and you put some energy out of this work. But to give you an idea, on the plenaries, you are supposed to be there. Because you have to adopt the opinions and discuss them.
Perfect, thank you. Thank you, Live. So, Marco, from your side, from EFSA perspective, how important is the work of the scientific panels and the working groups for EFSA?
Well, you may have seen from the video before, from the presentation that was given, that basically the scientific panels, scientific committee, and the working groups are the engine of the scientific activity, most of the scientific activity that is done in EFSA. The panel is really where the opinions are discussed, shaped, and adopted. The working group is the activity of the working group, so it's a key activity because where the opinions are developed, drafted, so all the evidence are analyzed, assessed, the studies are appraised, and the proposed assessment is presented to the panel for adoption. So these are the key steps, really, of most of the scientific work we do in EFSA every day.
Perfect, thank you, Marco. I don't know if there is any question from the audience or if you have any comment from the online participants.
Not for the moment. If you have any questions. Yes,
Perfect.
I come with the microphone.
Many thanks. Just for the workload, a question to you, Lieve. You said 8 times 2 days. Is that for the 5-year period, or is that for a year, for each year?
That's for the 5-year period.
Okay, okay.
And I have to add that you need to like reading, because to be prepared for the plenary, you need to read the documents. And that's take for each plenary for me, and I'm already quite experienced. I also put in my agenda 1.5 days extra just for reading. But you get them in time, so that's all well organized. So you get the documents 1 week before, so you can spread this and you can adopt your agenda a bit for your personal, that you are prepared to go to the plenary.
Thank you. Is there any other question? Yeah, perfect.
Thank you. Well, I have one question regarding the different jobs and careers you have. Do you have a specific, is that working?
Yeah, it works.
Yeah. Do you have a specific department or team who is doing the communication and the engagement with the European Commission, and how do you collaborate with the European Commission?
For the job opportunity, for the career opportunity?
No, I mean, like, I understand that EFSA is doing all the scientific work for the European Commission, and in the beginning you mentioned that EFSA is doing the risk assessments, and European Commission is doing the risk management. So who is responsible of ensuring that the risk assessments are properly communicated to the European Commission, and how the new directives that are, like, for example, I think that yesterday or today there was like a new initiative for the food systems. I haven't read it yet, but who is responsible for communicate this work? And I don't know if my question is really like a good one, but I just had this question as okay, thank you.
Thank you. You were looking at us, but you should have looked at Marco. So it's a question for the scientist here. Yeah.
So I think you were like the coordinators.
Yes,
Okay,
perfect.
okay.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
So we basically work together with, or work for a Directorate General on Consumer Health and Foods, DG Sante in European Commission. DG Sante is also organized in different units, and under each unit there are specific responsibilities that mirror basically the organization of EFSA. So we directly, the scientific unit in EFSA, directly connect with the relevant units in DG Sante. For instance, there is a unit on food processing and contaminants that is involved in risk management of food additives, food contaminants, and so far. And there are other units, for instance, for biological hazards, etc., and hygiene. So, please.
Discussion now. So each unit has its own like communication with directly, something like this. Yes.
For the scientific activities, yes. Okay. So we receive the mandates through EFSA, of course, but then the mandates is allocated to the specific panel in EFSA, and we connect directly to the colleagues in the Commission to discuss the mandates.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if the other colleagues want to add something. A minor comment is that this is also how it works with the other agencies, because we are decentralized European agencies, but we are under a mother DG. So for EFSA, the mother DG is DG Sante. But this is also how the other agencies, for example, EMA or CDC, they work with the Commission.
Okay, thanks.
Panos, we have a question from the online audience. Marta is asking, is previous experience in writing official documents, for example, national regulatory documents, required for participating in scientific committee or in scientific panel, or it is enough to have scientific writing skills?
A general comment is that when we will publish the call there, we will specify the selection criteria and what it's needed. But maybe we can also ask here the panelists, how important is this skill for the experts? I will start with Vasilis.
Well, the writing skill, of course, is a prerequisite for any expert being in a panel or in a working group. Of course, any other experience, I think, well, I'm not responsible for recruiting the experts, but I expect that all these criteria are being taken into account by EFSA recruiters.
No, but also in your tasks, as a panel, how useful is it if somebody has the experience of scientific writing or?
Yeah, of course, we need to, at the end, we need to have a written opinion, and we are all involved in writing the opinions. So we have to summarize the literature and come to a written opinion. So the writing and the reading both are really skills you need to have and you need to like.
If I may compliment on this, I would like to pass on my experience from a recent mandate we have about the microbial resistant. And it was common with biohazard. By the way, the biohazard was the one that took the mandate, but also the feed-up panel helped a lot in assessing the various studies being conducted in animals. And for the animals, for each antibiotic substance, perhaps we had to review, and there were 24 antibiotic substances. We had to review even more than 2, 5, or 10,000 papers for each antibiotic substance, just to sort the list to 50 or 100 that could be used into the document. Therefore, that's a huge work that is being done. Regarding the most of the panels, because in the feed-up panel things are somehow different because we have applications being done by companies. They are regulated products, the food additives. Therefore, for its application, each application may contain also 5,000 or 10,000 pages, and we have to review all of these pages in order to write the opinion. But this should not scare you, because the panel members and also the members of the working groups and also the members of the unit are quite a few, and all help to the writing of an opinion. Therefore, the task is, let's say, divided to all these people, more or less.
Yeah, just to also not to scare you too much, you are really well supported by all EFSA staff. I want to stress that they are very, very capable, very, very kind also, and they have also in EFSA developed tools to help you through this extended literature searches, what my colleague is telling here. So when you have this huge amount of papers, there are tools of helping screening these. So even now already also artificial intelligence is also applied. So EFSA is really up to date with these supporting techniques, and that's a big help for that.
Perfect. Thank you. Marco, do you want to make a comment?
No, I think...
Just in the support that we provide to the scientific panels and the working groups.
Yes, sure, of course I can. I can only reiterate what has been said already. Yeah, we are obviously very committed to support the scientific experts. We offer all kind of help we can, of course, administrative helps, technical support. Let's say we try to put the expert in the best condition to deliver their work. And obviously also we contribute directly to the scientific activity in the working groups in particular, also during the panel discussion. It's a very, it's very close cooperation we have with the experts, almost daily, I would say. Maybe sometimes we harass them a bit when we are in a rush to finalize opinions, etc. But it's really, we try to support them in the best way possible.
Panos, let me also say that, complimenting Liv for this, that EFSA staff are very well, extremely well educated people, talented and inspired people that help to all this system to produce all these opinions. And the experts are not alone in this task.
Perfect. Yeah.
Sorry, okay, maybe this is a little bit very specific, so if it is too specific for this, just let me know. Maybe it will be addressed to Marco. It's regarding what exactly do you, if you can give us a little bit of information of what do you do with the pesticides. And I'm just asking this because I am working on pesticides. I'm working actually in FERA, if you know, we used to work a lot together. So I was just thinking, what exactly are you doing with the pesticides?
Yes, okay, we do a lot on pesticides. Of course, as you can imagine, we have a panel on plant protection products that deal with generic mandates in the field of pesticides. They also are responsible to draft guidance, for instance, that can help in the preparation of the risk assessment on pesticides. The framework of pesticides is slightly different, meaning that this is the only area in EFSA where the application coming from the applicant is not assessed by the panel directly, because there is the responsibility is within member states. So the application, after the risk assessment, is reviewed by member states, and then the peer review of the, let's say there is one member state that is rapporteur, so that has the responsibility to work together with the applicants to develop the assessments. Then the assessment is shared with all the other EU member states for peer review, and EFSA is also involved and coordinating this peer review. So yeah, that's a kind of other activity that's beside the activity of the panel on plant protection products.
Okay, great, thanks.
If I may summarize that, I would say that we are doing a lot on the food safety issues. That I think the big benefit of working for EFSA and with EFSA is that we are like a food science hub. We have so many experts and colleagues externally and internally that they have a great expertise on food safety, and this is also, I think, a motive for professionals to come and join EFSA. So now we leave the floor to Celia for the second round of the questions.
Okay, so let's go now with the second and last, but not least, round of questions, and I will start with Liv. So, Liv, if you have to describe your experience in the scientific panel to a fellow scientist, to one of our colleagues today, what would you say? Maybe you can give us 3 adjectives.
Yes, I prepared that, Celia, so thank you very much, because it's not an easy question if I would do it spontaneously. But I think I choose the 3 one. The first one is the scientific. For me, it keeps me up to date on scientific level, on a way that I have not to do all it on my own. I like reading, like I said, but it's also helpful with this collective process of EFSA that you can learn a lot from colleagues. And it's, in fact, something you get for nothing, nearly. Just listening, just reading what others are summarizing, so the scientific, to keep you up to date. And as second, I choose satisfying. For me, after many years, I think of more individual scientific work. It is really satisfying to do it collectively. So to come to do it with colleagues, and I have recognized that together you can reach an added value that you can't do with your own brain alone. So it's the kind of brainstorming and influencing each other, and sometimes it's very, very nice to see that together you can do more than alone. And that is very satisfying. Also the link with society, like here the conference, Science and Society. It's nice after many years of individual scientific work. And then the third, and that's just the joy. It's nice, it's pleasant for me, it gives me energy, and I think that's because I encounter a lot of friendship, collegiality, contacts in Europe, networking, and as an example, we organize with one working group regularly an international lunch. So we all bring something special from our countries together, and really such things it's very, just very nice. And therefore we are also happy that we can be again, sometimes physically, hopefully together in Parma, especially for that third aspect, which I think is also important.
Thank you very much. So Vasilis, you have been working for the scientific panels and working groups for several years. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about which skills do you think are needed for working at the scientific panel. I am wondering more the soft skills, not the technical skills that for sure it's very clear that are needed.
Yeah, that's true. Celia, I've been working for EFSA as an expert since I said 2012, initially as a panel member, and the last 4 years as the chair of the FeedUp panel. Also, I'm chairing the working group of animal nutrition. That is a working group that belongs to the FeedUp panel. And also as the chair of FeedUp panel, I participate to the scientific committee, as mentioned earlier in a previous slide. It's indeed to manage and chair a group of people like the panel or the working group really needs some communicative skills in order to prepare the documents as much as the better way, and to get the consensus from all people participating to the group, so that the final document is likable from all people participating. Therefore, I would say that what is needed really for this advancement is that to know as much as possible, as better as possible, the people participating to the panel, and have real spiritual bonds between each other. But this is something you gain it through this process I said previously, and from even from the years that you're not even a chair of a working group of a panel. Therefore, first you meet and connect to the people that participate to the group, and then when the time comes to chair this group, if this comes, I mean, then I think it's much easy to do the job.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. And Marco, from your point of view as EFSA staff, how could you describe the cooperation with the scientific groups and the scientific panels and the working groups? Sorry.
A lot has been said already, but as I said, I think it's very enriching experience for us, for EFSA staff. I can see also from the expert side. One of the key features, I think, of our panels is they are multidisciplinary in terms of composition. So people with very different backgrounds, scientific background meet. They can discuss, they can bring their own perspective, their own point of view to the scientific problem we are facing. And I think this is mutually enriching for the experts and for the staff as well. Certainly, there is, especially maybe also for young scientists, I think it's an opportunity. Also, maybe if young scientists may not be ready to join the panels, but start joining working groups, really having hands-on on the risk assessment development. It's very, very reaching from a professional point of view, I think. The cooperation we have, as I said, is really also from a human side, really interesting. We meet always new experts. We always deepen our knowledge, and we also broaden our knowledge. And I think also that for experts, if I may say, the networking aspects are really important. You can really build a very nice network of experts at European level. And if I may add the last thing, the purpose is very important. I think the idea, the purpose to contribute to European food safety, I think it's something that keep EFSA staff and also the experts, if I may, very much motivated through the work.
If I may give a tip here for the working groups, so when there is a need and we look for suitable profiles, we also look for our talent pool. So if you are interested to join EFSA as a member of the working group, you can also create your profile on Taleo. So you can go on our career site and then create your general profile so that this will be available also to EFSA. And when there is a need for an expert in a new working group or in the current working groups, we can always go and check. Okay. So now, is there any question from the audience? Victoria, do you have any question from the?
Yes, one about the possibility of remote working.
Yeah, I think that this is a question that came up also to the previous session that we had for the career opportunities. Yeah. Okay, for the staff positions, I don't know if you are familiar, if you were here yesterday, but we say that we telework from 3 days per week. This is, of course, the working conditions now. This may change later, but for now we can telework 3 days per week, but from Parma or from a place close to Parma, and the other 2 days we have to go to the office. However, I think that for the working groups or the scientific panels, maybe it is a bit more agile, and colleagues can also work remotely if there is a need. Of course, you can reply, but if I understood well, maybe it's also good that you meet physically in Parma also to get this part of the experience. Yeah?
Yes, but now EFSA is also with these hybrid meetings, and it's working very well. We had already 2 physical meetings with some colleagues at home, and really EFSA is well equipped for that. But of course, it's nice to meet each other physically also. So if yeah, it's an element which I would not like to miss.
Yeah, here the secret is the balance, so that if there is an issue, of course, you can join remotely, but it's also important to join physically the meetings. Any other question? No, it's fine. So before we close, if we ask all 3 of you, which is an interesting, challenging project that you had, and it's also related with the work at EFSA. I will start with Marcos.
Yeah. So yeah, if I can maybe mention 2, since I'm kind of recently left contaminants and joined the pesticide, I will, to be fair, mention 1 for each. Maybe the most recent, the last big challenge I had in contaminants, together with the panel and the expert, was to finalize our scientific opinion on perfluoroalkyl substances. This was an opinion that required a lot of time for development, to assess all the evidence, a lot of discussions, and also because of its sensitivity for several member states, it also required a long public consultation process. We receive many comments. We have to engage with many stakeholders, of course. And it was rewarding at the end, but it was really, really a challenge during the development of the opinion. Nowadays in pesticide, I cannot avoid to mention glyphosate, of course. We are now finalizing the peer review on the glyphosate for the glyphosate renewal. As I guess, as you all know, this is a super sensitive and hot topic in Europe. And yeah, this is currently my main challenge.
For me, I want to mention the first working group I had to chair. It's already a long time ago because I'm becoming older. I was much younger then. I was in a working group and with much more experienced colleagues, and I'm still very thankful to the EFSA staff at that moment that asked me to be chair of the working group to write the guidance, the first guidance on genetically modified microorganism and how to do the risk assessment. And I think we did a good job, and I learned a lot with that exercise. And yeah, you have sometimes to get a challenge to go in, and EFSA has offered me that opportunity, and I'm still thankful for that.
Thank you. Vasilis?
Yes, I think for all experts participating in panels, participation in the panels is a lifetime experience. It's like when the first day you go to the university, when you are 18, you have the same feeling and even a higher feeling, because this lasts perhaps for even more years, not only 4 or 5 years. It may last 10, 15, or even 20 years in some cases. The multidisciplinary approach of issuing and adopting the opinions is an extreme experience, because you learn a lot of things that you don't know from the background studies you already have. Therefore, this communication with all these colleagues from the different backgrounds to write and to adopt an opinion is the most exciting thing I have ever lived in all these years. And I welcome you to apply for these positions of experts in working groups and panels, and you may at some time remember this day. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. So I think this was the end from our side. Just to mention, if I can change a slide, that if you want, you can. We also put the link on the chat. All colleagues from Parma, they will have a session from 3 to 4 via Teams. If you scan the QR code, but if you also click on the link that we shared on the chat box, you can chat with them. And if you have any question, if you need more information, clarifications about the career opportunities or the different schemes, feel free to chat with them, and they will reply instantly to your questions. And that's all. Thank you a lot for joining us. If you need more clarifications, you can pass by our career booth, and we will be happy to reply. You can also bother our ambassadors here when you will see them around in the sessions. Thank you a lot.